The buzz around the New York Yankees during this spring training has been impossible to ignore, especially when the conversation turns to the future of the franchise. Every year, there are a few names that begin to gain momentum inside the organization, but this time it feels different. Three prospects in particular have stepped into the spotlight, and the excitement surrounding them is growing with every game played in camp. As the Yankees prepare for the 2026 season, these young players are starting to show why so many people inside the organization believe they could become key pieces for the next era of baseball in the Bronx. The discussion really intensified after the latest rankings of the Yankees farm system were revealed, highlighting the top talents currently developing within the organization. At the very top of that list sits George Lombard Jr., a name that many fans have already heard plenty about over the past year. Lombard was already considered the #1 prospect in the system previously, and he has done nothing this spring to suggest that ranking should change. In fact, if anything, his early performance has only strengthened the belief that he could eventually become a major figure in the Yankees lineup. Spring training is often a tricky environment to evaluate players because the level of competition varies from game to game. However, when a young player consistently produces strong results, people start paying attention quickly. Lombard has done exactly that. In a small but impressive sample of 10 at-bats during camp, he has already produced a batting average of .400, along with 1 home run, 6 runs batted in, and 2 stolen bases. Those numbers alone would already be enough to generate excitement. But the moment that truly turned heads came when he launched a leadoff home run against one of the most respected pitchers he could possibly face during the spring. Facing established major league pitching is always a major test for a young prospect, and Lombard passed that test in a way that immediately caught attention. Leading off a game with a home run against a pitcher known for overpowering hitters showed that the young infielder is not intimidated by elite competition. For many observers, that swing was a glimpse into what the future could look like if his development continues along this path. But Lombard's value is not limited to what he does at the plate. One of the reasons the Yankees organization holds him in such high regard is his defensive ability. Scouts consistently describe his fielding as smooth, instinctive, and reliable. At a premium defensive position like shortstop, those qualities carry enormous importance. The way he reads the game, moves around the infield, and handles difficult plays has already impressed coaches during camp. Because of that combination of offensive potential and defensive stability, many people within the organization see Lombard as a possible long-term solution at shortstop. That naturally leads to comparisons and questions about the current situation at the position. The Yankees have invested time and opportunity into developing their current options, but the reality of professional sports is that performance ultimately determines the future. If Lombard continues progressing at this pace, it will become increasingly difficult for the organization to ignore the possibility that he could eventually take over that role. Another detail that speaks volumes about how highly the Yankees value Lombard is the way they have handled trade discussions in recent seasons. While teams frequently explore different options to strengthen their roster, Lombard has consistently been considered untouchable in those conversations. The organization clearly believes that moving him would be giving up a potential cornerstone player, and that level of confidence says a lot about how they view his long-term potential. Of course, Lombard is not the only young talent generating excitement during this spring. The Yankees also have a pair of intriguing pitchers who are starting to attract attention for very different reasons. One of them is right-handed pitcher Carlos Lrange, a prospect whose versatility has made him one of the most fascinating arms in the system. What makes Lrange particularly interesting is the wide range of possibilities regarding how he could be used at the major league level. Some scouts believe he has the tools to develop into a strong starting pitcher, someone capable of handling multiple innings and controlling games from the mound. Others see him as a potential dominant force in the bullpen, especially in high-pressure late-inning situations. That kind of flexibility is incredibly valuable for any team, and it gives the Yankees multiple pathways to integrate him into the roster once he is ready for the next level. During this spring training, Lrange has already begun showing flashes of what makes him so intriguing. In 2 appearances totaling 5 2/3 innings, he has posted a strong earned run average while recording several strikeouts. Those performances have reinforced the idea that his raw talent could translate effectively against major league hitters if he continues developing his command and consistency. One of the most impressive aspects of his game is his velocity. Few things change the momentum of a baseball game like a pitcher who can consistently throw at extremely high speeds, and Lrange has demonstrated the ability to reach the upper limits of what most hitters are comfortable facing. When a pitcher combines that kind of velocity with solid control, the result can be devastating for opposing lineups. However, the Yankees currently have a rotation filled with experienced starters, which means finding immediate space for a new arm can be complicated. That situation may ultimately influence how Lagrange's career unfolds in the near future. If the rotation remains crowded, the bullpen could become the quickest path for him to make an impact at the major league level. That possibility has already sparked discussions about how valuable he could be in late-inning roles. A power pitcher entering games in the 7th or 8th inning can completely shift the dynamic of a contest, especially when paired with an established closer. If Lrange continues proving that his velocity and strikeout ability translate against advanced hitters, the Yankees might seriously consider giving him that opportunity sooner rather than later. Another name that continues to gain serious attention inside the organization is Elmer Rodriguez, a pitcher whom many believe might actually be the closest of the 3 prospects to making a real impact in the major leagues. While Lombard represents the future of the infield and Lrange brings exciting possibilities with his powerful arm, Rodriguez stands out because of how polished his game already looks. When people around the Yankees talk about pitchers who could realistically step into the rotation if needed, his name almost always appears near the top of that conversation. Rodriguez built that reputation through a very strong season in the minor leagues, where he showed the kind of consistency that teams look for when evaluating future starters. Over the course of 150 innings last season, he maintained an earned run average below 3 while striking out 176 batters. Numbers like that do not happen by accident. They are the result of a pitcher who understands how to attack hitters, mixes pitches effectively, and remain composed even when facing difficult situations on the mound. One important part of his story is how he arrived in the Yankees organization. Rodriguez was acquired in a trade with the Boston Red Sox, a move that drew plenty of attention at the time. Whenever 2 historic rivals make a deal involving young talent, fans on both sides immediately start debating who will benefit the most in the long run. Early reactions leaned heavily in favor of Boston, especially because the player they received began producing quickly at the major league level during the early months of the following season. But inside the Yankees system, there has always been a strong belief that Rodriguez could eventually balance that equation if he reaches the level many scouts believe he is capable of reaching. What makes Rodriguez particularly intriguing is his ability to maintain control and rhythm throughout long outings. Some pitchers rely heavily on overpowering velocity, while others depend more on location and movement. Rodriguez seems to combine those elements in a balanced way. He is capable of generating strikeouts when necessary, but he also knows how to keep hitters off balance and induce weak contact. That combination often allows him to work deeper into games without his pitch count escalating too quickly. During the spring training, he has already started showing glimpses of that same effectiveness against stronger competition. In his first 2 appearances, he worked 6 innings while allowing limited damage, finishing with a solid earned run average and maintaining a strong ratio of base runners allowed. Those numbers alone might not seem overwhelming, but for a pitcher adjusting to higher levels of talent, they represent exactly the kind of steady performance coaches like to see. Because of that, there is a growing sense that Rodriguez may not need much more time in the minor leagues before receiving an opportunity with the major league team. The Yankees currently have several experienced arms in their rotation, but baseball seasons rarely unfold without unexpected challenges. Injuries, workload management, and performance fluctuations can quickly create openings that did not appear to exist just a few weeks earlier. When that moment arrives, having a pitcher who is prepared to step in becomes extremely valuable. Many people within the organization believe Rodriguez could handle that responsibility if called upon. Even if he does not begin the season on the major league roster, it would not be surprising to see him receive a call-up at some point during the year. Teams often bring up promising pitchers to give them their first exposure to major league competition, allowing them to experience the pace and pressure of the highest level before taking on a permanent role in the rotation. The Yankees followed a similar approach with other young pitchers in recent seasons, giving them opportunities to test themselves against big league hitters before fully committing to them as long-term rotation pieces. That gradual transition can help a young player adjust mentally and physically, making the eventual move to a full-time role much smoother. If Rodriguez continues performing the way he has so far, he could easily be the next prospect to follow that path. Looking at the bigger picture, the presence of Lombard, Lrange, and Rodriguez highlights something extremely important for the Yankees organization. For years, the team has been known for building its roster through major acquisitions and established stars. While that approach has certainly produced memorable moments, the modern game increasingly rewards teams that successfully develop their own talent. Young players who grow within the system often provide energy, flexibility, and long-term stability. The Yankees appear to be moving toward that balance, combining experienced veterans with a new generation of prospects who are starting to push their way toward the major league stage. Lombard represents a potential future leader in the infield, someone who could eventually anchor the defense while contributing offensively. Lrange brings the kind of raw power on the mound that can change the momentum of games in an instant. Rodriguez offers the reliability and composure that every rotation needs in order to compete consistently over a long season. When fans begin imagining what the roster could look like a few years from now, it becomes easy to see how these pieces might fit together. A lineup and pitching staff that blend established stars with emerging young talent can create a smooth transition from one competitive window to the next. That is exactly the type of continuity organizations hope for when they invest so heavily in scouting and player development. As the 2026 season approaches, the spotlight will naturally remain on the current stars leading the Yankees on the field. But behind the scenes, the development of these prospects continues to shape the direction of the franchise. Every strong performance in spring training adds another layer of anticipation, making fans wonder how long it will be before these young players begin writing their own chapter in the story of baseball in the Bronx. But before we continue, please remember to join our channel and give this video a like. Your support allows us to keep bringing you the latest news about the New York Yankees. Feel free to share your thoughts on the news in the comments. The rumors spreading through clubhouses and social feeds is growing louder by the hour. Juan Soto is said to have accepted a proposal and is on the verge of a dramatic return that could reshape the balance of power in New York. According to sources close to the negotiations, the star outfielder has given a positive response to an offer that aligns both with his competitive ambitions and his long-term vision, opening the door for a move that many fans had only dared to imagine. What fuels the speculation is not just the agreement itself, but the way it is rumored to unfold. Insiders describe an arrival treated less like a routine transaction and more like a statement, with celebrations expected to greet Soto as he steps back into the spotlight wearing the iconic pinstripes. The atmosphere around New York Yankees has reportedly shifted from cautious optimism to barely contained excitement, as if the organization senses a defining moment approaching. Soto's potential return is being framed internally as more than a roster upgrade. The belief is that his presence would send a clear message to the league. This is a franchise intent on reclaiming its aura. Executives and players alike are said to view him as a catalyst, someone whose confidence and plate discipline could ripple through the lineup and clubhouse. There is talk that the front office sees this move as a cultural reset, a way to reconnect modern star power with the club's historic identity. Around the city, the whispers have taken on a life of their own. Fans imagine the first roar as Soto is introduced, the symbolic weight of celebration that marks not just a signing, but a reunion. While nothing has been formally confirmed, the sense is that the machine has started moving, and once it does, it rarely slows down. If the rumors hold true, this return could be remembered not just as a transaction, but as the moment momentum swung back toward the Bronx. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the New York Yankees, please subscribe to our channel and give us a like. We always appreciate your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.